FTI community, I am joined by a man who possesses many incredible skills, and he is uberly talented at every realm that this man dabbles in, every creation he works on. He is a non-stop creative machine. He is a musician. He is a filmmaker. He is a puppeteer. He is a Tekken god. But most importantly, just like the previous guests that have joined me, he is someone that I am truly honored to call a really great friend of mine. FTI community, please help me welcome Sina's Frequencies to the In Your Studio podcast. How is your Sunday going?
It's going great. It's
good.
Yeah, pretty good. I watched a movie today. Very nice.
What did you watch?
I watched Sinners with Michael B. Jordan.
Yes.
Very, very good film. I highly recommend. Very nice.
It has taken over all social media and every platform. I've seen it everywhere.
I went in completely blind. All I knew was vampires, maybe. And there was some of that, yeah.
So you watched it at a theater rather than rented at home?
Yeah. I went in, watched it. I wasn't sure what to expect, but it was a very pleasant surprise. The music was killer. It was actually kick-ass. Yeah, no, everything was just a lot better than I was expecting it to be. But then again, I went in knowing absolutely nothing. So it was a pleasant surprise.
Damn straight. Leaving it with your knowledge of films and setting up a movie, the production quality, were you blown away by any of those things, or did you just take it on as another Hollywood must-see movie?
Well, yeah, the production quality was definitely good. I think one thing that kind of stood out to me was the sound design was really cool for that film. They had a lot of moments where it was weird because they would talk about something like exposition, some guy's talking about some traumatic thing that happened in his past, and they do this thing where they're in the scene in a car where he's explaining it, and it's almost as if the sounds of what he's describing, people screaming and stuff, it's coming out of the car radio as he's describing it, which is really cool. It's kind of just you're there in the moment as he's explaining, and you're on the road and stuff. It's just a lot of cool sound work in that film. I'm not sure what studio or whatever did that, but it was really cool. I highly recommend, if you haven't watched that movie, you go watch it. It's nice.
I can guarantee by the time this is published and our good friend Donald Waters tunes in, he will already be either typing a comment or messaging you directly, because he is a cinema buff. He loves films. Something that I wanted to say as well, and I don't know if I told you this, this is the 10th session, so you have officially kicked off the double digits of the In Your Studio podcast, which it's a pretty big thing, man. I'm pretty amped about that. I like how time is flying by. 2 Wednesdays ago, when we caught up in Toronto, I was explaining just everything about the In Your Studio podcast, but talking to you about it eased my nerves about doing this as well, because as I was telling you, I go in with overthinking on so many different aspects of this, and then after a bite to eat, talking about the Nintendo Switch and everything, I was like, oh, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be the greatest time ever. So I'm very happy that number 10 is with you.
I'm a big fan of the podcast, so I'm honored.
Boom! Double wins! With this week being dedicated to you and the incredible world you've created as an artist, more than just music, I'm sure by now that the entire FTI community and those listening know that you're a very versatile creator who dabbles in almost every medium of art. You describe yourself as an experimental underground artist who loves the DIY aspect of creating, mainly using grunge themes to bring many projects to life. Whether it's films, videos, or music, the way your brain works is so fascinating. I'm personally very excited to talk about it all, but going to the very beginning, let's talk about the person behind the persona. Who is Sina?
Sina's just a guy, man.
He's just a guy.
Sina's just a chill dude. Sina's just a chill dude. I don't know. I guess it all started when I was a wee boy. And I guess it's hard to explain. I guess my first dabbling into the arts, I guess, was in high school. I always was a huge fan of drama class. I liked doing like silly acting skits and stuff in drama class and stuff. So as a kid, I was always just like, man, it'd be cool to be like an actor someday. You know, like I want to get into acting. Like that sounds like it's for me. Like I want to do that. And then eventually, at some point, I had to switch schools, and the school I went to did not offer drama classes, which is crazy because I had never heard of that before. But I guess the school that I went to is a lot smaller than the first high school I was at, so they didn't have as many um, courses that were kind of like extracurricular type of things like that, like in the arts. Um, Strangely enough, though, even though they didn't offer a drama course for my year, they offered a film course, which
Oh,
it was very odd to me that you would have that, but not the. Anyway,
yeah.
it was the closest thing, so I took it, and it kind of introduced me to the world of not just like thinking about like acting and stuff, but more so like, oh shit, like there's like this whole. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear.
100%, man. I have a swear jar for myself.
Okay. I was like, oh damn, oh shiz. This is really cool because now I'm learning about the behind the scenes aspects. You know, like the people behind the thing, like the your favorite films, basically your favorite films, TV shows. You know, I was finally like getting to the point where like I was analyzing films more so as like this like storytelling thing with like all these different people that come together to make this one great piece of art, or maybe sometimes not so great. But before that I was always just thinking about like, oh man, like acting is all I want. But then as soon as I took my first film course, I was like, this is really cool.
Hell
um
yeah.
yeah, and immediately I was just like, man, maybe I want to direct stuff, you know? And so it being a film course, I did get the chance to direct some things, just some small, like short, like 5 minute films and stuff. It was just high school. So like, it was mostly just like learning the ropes of like, oh, what would it be like if you were to try to make something, you know? But yeah, no, it was, I found it to be a lot of fun. I think it was really nice to be able to I always enjoy thinking when I get the opportunity to think in like a creative way. And this was giving me the opportunity to do that in ways that I never thought imaginable. So yeah, no, it was cool because like a lot goes into, you know, making films, a lot more than I thought
Yeah.
before. There's like so much that goes into it. And yeah, no, eventually it kind of I kind of started to think more so about like less so about acting, even though it is something that I enjoy doing. But I started to think more towards directing, which is why I started to apply to like film schools. And then like when university time came around, I went to York for film production, and that's kind of where I got the bulk of my directing experience, and just kind of getting better at it pretty much because I was not very good at it in high school. But yeah, no, I was starting to learn the ropes, and yeah, I just really enjoy it. I don't know. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much me. I do enjoy voice acting too. That was kind of like the main reason I thought about acting in the first place, because I was like, oh, you know, I can do voices. You know, my friends would always be like, oh, that's a cool voice you do. That's nice. You should do that and make money out of it. And like I always thought about it, but I never actually did it until like recently. You know, I made like a puppet show where I get to kind of flex my creative juices in a different way. And you know, I just really wanted to make something that was able to showcase what I'm able to do with my voice.
Yes.
Because I never really got the opportunity to do that before. So this was like my one thing where I was like, I want to make like a show, a piece of content, something that's like that happens like reoccurringly, and like I can just have all the characters just be my voice. So in a way, it was sort of like when I was starting it out, it was sort of like a demo reel
Mm.
but then I kind of like came up with these different characters, and then the plot just started to happen. Things started to connect, and then I thought about, okay, well, this is how the first episode is going to go. And then the second episode, oh, this is how I want season 1 to end. Oh my God. Now I'm thinking of things to do for season 2. Meanwhile, I haven't even recorded episode 4. It's just, things are just happening. It went from being like this small, initially I wanted it to be like a small 3-minute project or something. And then it kind of, the scope got bigger, and I was like, why stop here? I also find it fun. The process is kind of tedious, but at the end of the day, when I have like an episode done and published and everything, and I look at it, it's something that I'm really proud of, and all the work, is worth it at the end when I look at it. So yeah, it's that's basically the voice acting part of stuff. It's Friends with Furs, by the way. That's the show.
Yes.
Pat is right behind me. He's one of the main characters. Pat the Pat Rack.
This podcast was advertised as most guests on a single episode, because we're including all of them.
We got Pat. We got Rascal. Hey, Rascal. We got Mojo over here.
Mojo's chilling
over there. I think we got Cody the Coyote.
That's a baller name.
Cody the Coyote over here. You want another guest? Oh, wait, hold on. I got Lemmy.
Yo, Lemmy's behind the camera.
Lemmy's behind the camera. He's actually recording this right now. Lenny the cinematographer. And then last but not least, we got little old Boris the Beaver.
Boris has the greatest voice out of all of them. No bias. Let's talk about Friends with Furs. It's for sure a unique concept, and it's honestly something I've never personally seen. Because, and I'm gonna butcher the names, but I remember growing up, there was the show like Happy Tree Friends, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Shows like that.
I watched the crap out of that.
Man, I remember it was like Ray William Johnson, the Happy Tree Friends, and like all the others were really taking over YouTube at the time. But I never went towards watching that other than Ray William Johnson and like Smosh. But Friends with Furs is inspired by cult classics like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Salad Fingers, and Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. You described the show as a dark comedy puppet show in a horror setting geared towards mature audiences, really wanting to take the spooky aspects of the show that you've created and mix it in with like some shows you may see on like an Adult Swim, other than like the voice acting and kind of like the concept you created when creating, and you're like, this is an episode for season 2 and everything you were doing. What's the origin story behind Friends with Furs when it comes to like actually creating an episode and creating the series?
So basically, the way it is now, it is, you're right, it's very, very much inspired by YouTube classics like Salad Fingers, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, stuff like that. And I just really wanted to, again, like showcase something that was like where I could do different characters, sort of like an ensemble cast of sorts. And then also I like doing like silly stuff a lot. So I wanted it to be a comedy show, but at the same time, I love horror and I have a lot of horror inspirations. So I always go towards that stuff too. So I really thought it'd be cool to make something that was very Courage the Cowardly Dog inspired, whereas like, it's for it being a kids show, is very spooky. I had a lot of episodes that were very spooky, but at the end of the day, I had a lot of silly moments, really, really dumb, absurd moments, and like Courage is trying to save Muriel or whatever, and all of a sudden he's just like, ah! It's like, what are we doing here? Like, and then like he goes on the computer, like trying to search stuff, and there's like a sarcastic AI talking back to him. Like, it's just, crazy stuff like that. So anyway, so what goes into making an episode? So basically I wanted to do like a story of so far we're only 2 episodes in. Episode 3 has been as of doing this podcast, it has been recorded. It is just currently being edited, and it's basically I wanted to do a show that kind of surrounds the themes of like betrayal, shame, and forgiveness.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of that in the show, where so far it's basically these guys are all friends with furs that live in the middle of nowhere with this the only human character in the show, which is the Elephant Man, and he's kind of like their master. And they're his friends, you know, they're the only people that he hangs out with. He has no connection to the outside world other than these friends. So one could say he's psychotic or something. So he talks to these guys, and you know he wants them to all be like a family. Um, until one day, one of them kind of does something unforgivable, and we learn that in the first episode, Blood and Bones, this guy right here, Pat, he was caught red-handed with a hand, haha, in his pack. So in the hand, you know, is one of the fur friends. So basically, there's foul play involved, and everyone's freaking out because they're like, "Oh my god, you killed one of our friends, basically our family." And basically, at that, I'm not gonna go too much into it because then you know you can see for yourself when you watch it. But it's a lot about how like kind of we learn more about what went on behind the scenes when their friend died, and then Pat kind of trying to kind of gain the trust back of all of his friends, even though you know a lot of people can argue that he doesn't deserve it and that he doesn't deserve forgiveness. But again, that's what the show kind of tries to touch on and go into, and try to kind of play with the themes of like how far is too far, and when do you get to the point where like you just can't forgive a person anymore, you know, like there's only so
Yeah.
much things you can do. And then you know once you cross a line, like in this case murdering someone, Pat tries to kind of get redemption and kind of get his friends to trust him again, but it's a uphill battle, as you can imagine. So
Does this translate to just creative writing, or do you pull from experiences in your life?
I'll be honest, a lot of it is I have a clear vision of like an outline of where I want to end up.
Mhm.
Like I have a vision of like, okay, so these are the key moments that I want to hit in this first kind of story arc. And then having that outline in mind, I kind of just turn the camera on and improvise.
Understandable.
So yeah, so basically it all starts when I open my DAW and I start to just record my voice. And basically, it starts with a lot of improvisation where I kind of just say stuff in the characters' voices. And I kind of just try to act out a scene and see if anything clicks, really. So, like, I'll do Pat's voice, like, what are you guys doing here? Whatever, like that. And then I'll introduce more characters. Like Lemmy walks into the room, and then how are these two characters going to interact with each other? Lemmy being, you know, one of the other characters, this guy, you know, and they kind of talk to each other until I can kind of get like some funny moments happen, and then we get to like the meat of the episode, which is like the actual plot points that I want to hit. But yeah, it's a lot of improvisation.
Okay.
And then basically after I'm done doing the recording part, and I know for a fact, like, okay, so I've recorded all these voices. This is what I want to keep. These are the things that I want to lose. Um, Afterwards, I have to go and actually record the puppets talking with this green screen that I am have behind me. And basically, at that point, I play the recorded dialogue out of my speakers, and then I try to sync their mouths to what is being said as best as I possibly can. And then with that recorded footage, then I would go on to like Premiere Pro, get rid of the green screen, have them in their little settings and their little scary, spooky house and environments. Which the environments is a whole other, it's a whole other thing. Um,
Yes.
that's like, because like again, I mentioned it's all green screen, so everything has to kind of be constructed behind them. And so what I do is there are a lot of websites that have stock photos.
Yeah.
So I use a lot of different stock assets kind of like mixed together. So like for example, I'll get like stock photo of like a kitchen background or something like that. And then sometimes it's either perfect and like, oh, okay, I can just put that behind the characters and then maybe color grade it a bit so it looks a little bit more grungy or whatever. But then some other times it takes a lot more effort where it's like I take a number of assets, like I take a PNG of like a chair and then I have to like kind of place it into like a room. You know, like they're just different assets from different photos that I kind of try to stitch together to kind of build an environment. And
Yeah.
then other times I take pictures of environments and that's the background. Like for example, I have like one of these, I can't really show it to you right now, but I have one of these like miniature houses, the
Mhm.
house cardboard house sets that they sell at like little knickknack stores. And so this one is the model of like a kitchen. So it's
Okay.
like a tiny house, like a tiny room, cardboard room. And so I just take a picture of all like the sides, the walls, the floor and stuff. And then obviously when I put it into Premiere, then I can manipulate the sizes of everything. So even though it looks tiny here in the show, you know, it looks big, like it looks like
Own
an
up.
actual room, like an actual environment. So yeah, that's pretty much most of the what goes into the episodes, and then editing is a whole other thing.
Happy anniversary, FTI community. Come check this out.
There I am!
Crazy. Love it.
I feel as if that concept explained in action would make so many people so intrigued by what they're seeing. And I say that because today I was at the punk rock flea market, and I've done about five of them now at the Gold Punk Rock Flea Market. But one person was walking by the table, they're like, "Wow, a lot goes into what you create, and you just make it look so effortless, and you just make it like everything just like fits." And I was like, "Yeah, like that's I guess just like art because like you never really focus on how you perceive how others perceive your art, and you're kind of just like, yeah, a lot went into this, but it comes out how I want in my brain." So
Mm-hmm.
like just everything you explained there with like the sets and like the image manipulation and the stock websites, that's crazy that like so much goes in other than just like directing, improving, and narrating an episode.
Yeah, it's well, the thing with being like a small artist is unfortunately, as much as I would like to commission people to do stuff like this for me so that
Yeah.
it, you know, takes a lot of work off of me and I can focus on other stuff like actually doing the plot and stuff. Fortunately, you know, when you're a small artist, you don't really have the budget for stuff like that. So uh, you kind of have to be like an all-rounder and kind of figure stuff out for yourself, learn this because like I wasn't I would like I had to force myself to learn Photoshop because I would do like my you know, I would have to do thumbnails, I'd have to do cover arts for songs, you know, I'd have to do other things, you know. So it's like there's so many different programs I kind of had to force myself to learn. in order to do things for myself. And unfortunately, it does take a lot of time. So projects do take longer, and I can't release things as fast as I want to, whether it's like music, films, whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm very proud of what I make because I know that all of it is just with my own blood, sweat, and tears. So, so there's kind of like a yeah.
What I really liked about when we hung out the other week was when we were talking about the music for Witchcraft. You said that it was really completed a while ago, but the final version was just like to yours and your team's like absolute love, like final liking. You nitpicked the smallest things because you had a vision in mind and you really wanted to be like how you wanted it to be seen by everybody. You didn't want to go like, oh, we could have took that out. Oh, we could have made this better. Like you like frame by frame said, I love this. I don't like this. Let's adjust that. And that's because you're incredibly well suited and well versed in making your experimental do it yourself projects just look like chef's kiss times 1,000, my friend. Everything has a rhyme and a reason, whether it's the music video for Witchcraft or it's an episode of Friends with Furs. You've really honed in on a style that's unique to you, but you can translate it into all the different avenues of art you create. Going into the music realm, where does the blueprint start for your music creation? Like, do you have a certain blueprint that like starts all songs or like is a theme for like multiple songs? Or do you more so get inspired by like individual things that create unique blueprints?
It kind of varies. A lot of the time, like 90% of the time, I kind of just open a new project and I just click buttons until something cool happens. But a lot of the times too, like I get inspired by like what I'm listening to at the time. I listen to a lot of different genres of music. Because I'm such a music connoisseur. I love foreign music. I love all sorts of but I listen to a lot of different genres. So a lot of the time, depending on like what I'm listening to or like what my phase is or mood is that time of month, I kind of take inspirations from that. For example, like when I first started releasing music, I did a lot of like indie rock, surf rock type of stuff, to like grunge rock, stuff like that. But then at a certain point in university, I started to listen to a crap ton of Crystal Castles. And that you can really see the shift of that in my music, where I go from a lot of strings and guitars and stuff, and I start to transition to more like synths and like electronic elements and like samples and stuff like that. So definitely what I'm listening to at the time and what's inspiring me at the time definitely has a huge impact on what I make. Because there's a lot of times where I'm like listening to a song of my favorite artist and I'm like, man, that sounds so cool. Like maybe next time I'll open my project and I can see if I can get like some sort of similar sound or something like that and see if I can kind of make my own version of that. But 90% of the time though, I usually just feel bored or something. I like at the end of the day, it's like music is like a really fun hobby for me. So like it's like one of those things like video gaming. Like I just open it sometimes just to have fun, and I'm like, what can we come up with today? And a lot of the time, it just starts out with like a drum beat, and then like slowly add elements onto that. I'm like, okay, this is a cool beat. Let's put some guitar on top. See how that works. Okay, that guitar sucked. Let's take that out. Let's go switch to a synth. Okay, this note sounds cool. And then this pad goes really good with that. Let's keep that one in. Let's do some vocals. Oh, that really sucked. Let's pitch shift it and stuff like that. It kind of just sometimes, you're fortunate enough where like there's just you start on a project and then there's just like a flow state. Immediately you're like, man, I know exactly where this is going. Oh shit, or crap.
Yeah, now you're good. You're good.
And then you're like, oh crap, we have a finished piece of music. And then some other times it's not as easy. And like you start off with something that's like really cool, and then you're like really feeling it, and then you hit a wall. And then you're like, Okay, I'm not sure where we're gonna go with this yet. And then it goes into what I call my Google Drive, the demo dump, where I take all of like the unfinished pieces of music I have and they just collect dust until I'm ready to revisit and kind of add stuff to it. And a lot of the time, it's kind of helpful to do that because sometimes I'll start a song and it feels like it's going somewhere, but then it doesn't. And then I get
Mhm.
frustrated. I'm like, man, I'm getting like, I don't really know where to go from here. I don't like what happens here. And then I start adding stuff to it and it sucks. And I'm like, I don't like that. Take it away. And then sometimes, when I leave it in the demo dump to just collect dust and stuff, maybe I'll revisit it in like a year or something like that after I've listened to more stuff, and you're always like listening and learning and listening to new things every day and stuff. So like you'd be surprised like how much just regular experiences you have kind of contribute to the art you make. So there have been times where like I get that writer's block and then I revisit the same song like a year later and I'm like, okay, I'm not stuck anymore. There's some creative ways we can get around this or something like that. Sometimes you gotta kind of let life happen and
Yes, very
inspire
important.
you. And yeah, so that's basically one way to deal with it. There's a lot of times where well, there's this one time where like I was like really stuck. I was like really cheesed because I was like, man, I had like a few songs that I was really vibing with at the time, and then I kind of just never got around to releasing them, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes what you make is just really good experience, and
Yes.
that's you just gotta be cool with that. So a lot of the time you just make stuff, but no one has to see it. That's for you. That's your character development. You keep it to yourself. And yeah, pretty much like I remember at one point I was telling someone, I can't remember who it was, but I was telling a friend of mine, like, man, there's this song, like there's so many songs that I've been working on and I just can't release them because I'm like stuck and it's just like it's kind of messing with me because I really thought I was getting somewhere with it, but now I'm not. And like, man, I don't know if I'm ever gonna release them. And then they were like, well, maybe they weren't meant to be released. And I was like, that's a
Fair.
good point. Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Maybe sometimes not everything needs to be released. Sometimes it's just really good practice. And that's that in itself. If you can learn from it, it's a huge, huge thing. So yeah.
Has there been something in your drive that you're happy you revisited a year or two later? Like where you're like, I like how I would have made it now versus then?
Yeah. Um, there is actually, I think, a song recently that I released that was actually an old song. Trying to think. I think Witchcraft might have actually been an old song that I eventually got around to releasing. Oh, I remember what it was. It's the song Bless You.
Mhm.
Um on that song the demo for that song like something crazy like 4 years ago. Yeah, like
Ooh.
4 years ago or something like that. I had the strings recorded, I had the vocals recorded. Um Basically had most of the structure of the song and everything there, but it just wasn't clicking at the time.
Mhm.
Like no matter what, every time I would open the project and force myself to work on it, I would just hit a wall and I just wouldn't like what I was listening to until eventually, a few years later, I think I released that song last year. Um, Eventually, a few years later, I revisited it, and by then I had kind of developed more. I
Yeah.
developed I gained a lot more experience, became a better producer. And, at that point, it was kind of a lot easier because I remember opening the project again. And then immediately I imported the presets that I had gained over the years and stuff. And I was like, let's try this sidechain preset. Sidechaining is basically when you well, the example I will use is when you have like a bass, for example, and then the drum beat, and then you want the bass to go down in volume every time the kick of the drum
Got you.
starts,
Okay.
for example. So basically, let's say like the kick of the drum is happening like boop, 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 and you want it to link to that kick so that every time the kick goes boop, your bass goes quiet so you can hear the kick better. Stuff like that, I got better at doing stuff like that over the years, and then I made myself like a preset for that. And then a few years later, when I revisited the song, I was like, man, that's just what it needed. Stuff like that, little things like that, I kind of just pieced together. And then also over the years, I learned to stop being so much of a perfectionist with the stuff that I do release, because at the end of the day, I learned that you can either be a perfectionist or you can actually release stuff.
Yes, sir.
I think it was like George Lucas that said like films are never finished, they're abandoned. It's the same way with anything art related, really. I feel like you can say like music is never finished, they're abandoned. Like you can work on a song forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. There are so many times where like I get imposter syndrome where I'm just like, man, like I listen to the same song that I'm working on like a million times and I'm like, is this even good? Like I'm just like, is this even good? Like I don't, like I've listened to it so many times that it's like warping my perception. I'm like, I don't even like this anymore. Like what are we doing here? And it's crazy because like I would get into my head a lot of the time where I'm like, the production sounds like a mess. This sounds super muddy here. This sounds not that great. Eventually, though, I come to the point where like I have a mix ready that I am pleased with. Sure. Like, yeah, you know what? I worked on this for more than enough time. Let's just release it. And then I release it, and then I got messages from like friends being like, yo, man, the production on this is crazy. Yes. And I'm like, thank you. I don't know, but thanks. I mean, I'm glad you think so. So it's crazy how like, you can always be your worst enemy. So imposter syndrome is something that I've like had to deal with a lot, whether it's, film, music, whatever. But, no one's going to judge your stuff more than you are ever going to judge your stuff.
Agreed. So, yep.
And a lot of the time it's okay. It's really not that big of a deal, And yeah.
No, go ahead. You're good.
But basically, I just learned to not be as much of a perfectionist, because when I was a perfectionist, nothing would get done. I would just be, my hair would be going gray and I would have no music released and I would be like, nothing is good enough. I can't release this until I re-record it 30 times. Which is actually why The Garden is such an inspiration for me. They're basically like a twin duo that does like really grungy indie music, and it's like really it's really out there. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but one thing that I really like about their music is a lot of the time you can really hear the imperfections in their mix, and it's just they don't care. You can tell just by listening to the music that they don't give a shit. They're like, and that's really cool. I find that really cool. There's like so many cool artists that I listen to where it's just like things don't sound conventional. They don't sound right, but that's okay. And it doesn't matter. And they're really big. They have a ton of fans. They've been really big for years. They've been big since I was in grade 9. And, people love them. I became a huge fan of them over the years. And again, like their production isn't like insane. Don't get me wrong. Like I love their music and they have like a lot of really cool elements that they are introduced to their songs. They're very also experimental and very unconventional. But overall, like it's not like you listen to it and you're like, oh my God, this is Skrillex. Like, oh my God, like, holy crap, how did he do that with the snare or whatever? It's not like life-changingly crazy production or anything, but it's just so lo-fi and grungy. Sounds like it was recorded in your mom's garage type of thing. And I love that. I love it. And I love how something can sound like it's recorded on a potato and it'll get a shit ton of, listeners, fans and stuff. So stuff like that really gives me inspiration, and it gives me hope that, nothing has to sound extremely perfect for it to actually translate. A lot of the people that listen to music aren't even thinking about stuff like that. They're not the mainstream audience. They're not thinking, oh my God, that snare sounded kind of weird, man.
Why did you
Bro,
put that out?
yeah, bro, that hi-hat though, bro, what was
Come
he thinking?
on, rethink
Bro, what was he
that.
thinking with that hi-hat? It's like mainstream audiences don't listen to that type of thing. They don't really care that much. There's like so many times where like you'll just psych yourself out if you just think too hard about like, oh, what are people going to, you start to think before anyone's even had the chance to view your work, you start to think about what could go wrong, what could they find to be a flaw, and then you kind of hyperfixate on that. You're just like creating problems that aren't even there. It's basically.
Oh,
So,
brother. Yes. Like, man, like, something I say quite a bit, and the cringe in your toes feeling you get when you catch yourself like repeating something you do. Something I say a lot is behind the curtains or peeking behind the curtains. But brother, you just fucking exposed everything behind my curtain. I will be sitting here doing a Creator of the Week FTI 5-year, editing a fucking podcast one for the swear jar, and I am making comments in the comment section that doesn't even exist yet. And so Derek Shoop always levels me. I'm like, man, can you just like listen? Like, this does not sound good. And I will talk him out of checking out a preview cut before I even send him the Dropbox link. And he's like, dude, nobody's going to focus on that. Only because you're creating it. And I'm like, no, but you don't understand, man. Like, my mic peaks here and I can't adjust it. He's like, if you upload it, nobody will notice it. So the 5-year video last week, I forgot what I said to him before I uploaded it. I was like, this is so wrong. Like, this is not how I want it to look. He's like, you're fine. Like, upload it. Like, you're going to be okay. And then even with Danielle, like, I'll have her like sit here and watch like whatever I'm posting for FTI coming up. And she's like, I love that. I'm like, but did you notice this? And she's like, no. And I'm like, my good friend Hayden told me after we did I helped him with their company Noise Floor. There was a band called Small Town Strip Club, and after the set, I remember I went up to Hayden and the other guy James, and I said, I think I needed this because you can create so much on yourself, but once you get the room and the atmosphere of other creators enjoying it, it really translates to how you can perceive their art and enjoy it, and then it will probably be fed right back to you. Because like I was just like, no one's gonna like what FTI is doing. Like, this is starting to go stale. And then I realized just a room full of people enjoying somebody else's art and presentation means a lot more to the audience than it can the person presenting. And then Hayden said sometimes all you need is a group full of like-minded people. So I try to use that mentality to like power everything now.
Totally, man. For sure. Like that, I can totally relate to that because you know how I just already went on about how much imposter syndrome I had, but my one song, What a Letdown, it was kind of a letdown for me. I was working on it for a really long time until eventually I got to the point where it went to the demo dump and I left it there and I just wasn't sure about it anymore. That song might never have even been released today if it weren't for my one friend coming over one time. His name's Sid. Shout out Sid Harth. He came over one time and he's actually one of the co-directors of the What a Letdown music video. And I don't remember how it came up, but he was like, "Oh, show me like what you've been working on or something." And I was like, "Yeah, I got this thing. I don't know. It's kind of stupid.
Here's a drive.
Kind of stupid, man. I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. It's a little something I made. You know, it's not. I don't even want to show it. It's stupid." Anyway, I played it for him. At that point, I was like very unsure if I was ever even gonna like post it or anything. But I remember I showed it to him, and he was just like, bro, this is crazy, bro. This is sick, man. Like, this is really good. And I was like, man, you really think so? Thanks. And he was like, yeah, no, like, literally, let's make a music video for this. And we started planning a music video for it. And it's out now on YouTube. But yeah, no, it's that kind of him just randomly, me showing him that song and him like showing all of this confidence and like how good it is. He was like, he doesn't even like listen to my genre of music. Like he even said like, this isn't like what I usually listen to, but this is sick. Like this has an audience. Like you need to release this. Like you need to like make a music video for this. You need to release this song. And so we did. We made the music video. I released the song, and it's one of my better performing songs. So I am glad I did. I am very proud of the music video and proud of the song and what we managed to make together. With Witchcraft as well. Witchcraft was also a long time in the making. That was probably
very long time.
Took the longest. Yeah, I think like 2 years, like almost 2 years we worked on that music video from when I initially brought it up to my friend and co-director Mark, and we finally got that one off the ground. So also very exciting music video. You should definitely check it out.
I think everybody needs to watch it at least 5 times, if not 5, 10. If it's not the FTI community, I actually want to dive right into that. Perfect segue. It's the community and the groups you're a part of in Toronto, and that's the creative friends and even family members that you're surrounded by. With Dylan and Bree just being two of the names we share in common. I'm sure there are plenty of creatives in the circle, like your co-director and Sid, I believe you said was the other one for What a Letdown. That push you to become a better artist every day. Who comes to mind when you think about the people who've pushed you on your journey so far to become not only the musician, but the artist you are?
Well, I'm really fortunate to have a lot of friends that are in the arts. So they all kind of always push me to be better. And, just knowing people like Dylan, from Couch, and seeing him like always like push out his stuff, make more content for Couch, make more stuff for whatever he's working on, that inspires me, that always pushes me. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that too. I'll also record content for my content, and I'll also push my stuff. I'm fortunate to have a lot of friends that are also trying to make things happen for themselves, and we kind of boost each other up. I like to think, like, so I was like, if you're ever like, I don't know, not feeling it, you're not feeling like this is meant for you, like you're not ever gonna make it in whatever you're trying to do, you'd be surprised how much you giving up would have an impact on the people around you without even knowing it. Because, like, for example, I think if Couch, again, we're talking about Couch, so I'll keep saying it, but if, for example, if Dylan from Couch decided one day, I'm going to give up on Couch, I'm not going to...
Oh my God, don't even want to think about that.
Anymore. That would be a huge letdown for me, because I'm like, well, when you quit, it shows the rest of us, maybe I should quit too. It gives us less, it's like a huge dump on our morale, because like when I see one of my friends do well, and when I see them continuously like trying to push their stuff out there, it makes me want to be better. And it also, whenever they succeed, it makes me know that, it's possible for me as well. So when I'm fortunate enough to have different friends like Sid and Mitch, the other co-director for What a Letdown, Mark, again, Dylan, Brianna, like all these different people who I work with, collaborate with, and they're all doing their own things, working on their own things, making their own films, music, whatever. It always pushes me to want to be better. it always inspires me to want to make more content, want to make more stuff, and want to, you know, go reach for my passions, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a,
I
yeah.
think that I've never heard it said that way, and I think that is the number one thing I will take away from, or not number one, that sounds very dramatic, but that is one of the strongest things that I'm going to take away from the last 10 sessions of this podcast is if you quit, you don't know the ripple effect that you have on the others. Because there's
Honestly, yeah.
so many people now that you said that are going through my head, like, if this person stopped, oh my God, if this person stopped, oh my God. But I know the person in me, and this probably sounds rude, and I don't know if it's egotistical is the right word. I would be at their doorstep, or I would be over messaging them with like hounding questions. Like I would go like, "Nuh-uh, we ain't doing this today." Yeah, get back on that horse. You're riding still. Because I think it's just so important. Like I've never thought about it that way. Just the ripple effect you can have on others by stopping what you're doing. And on that flip side of that coin, there's the other mentality that kind of relates, and what you and I talked about before as well is the fake it till you make it mentality. Because Danielle and I talked about that quite a bit after we saw you the other week. It's really interested. It's really interesting because although people want to excel in what they're passionate about, sometimes watching others from a distance, not appreciative and enthused about where they are because it might have been like the quote unquote easier route, like through like perspective. It doesn't really rest on the shoulders well when you see what you're so passionate about and you're clawing and you're scratching for, just kind of like really easily falling into the lap of somebody else's. And it can be the damper on your own journey. Just because I want to know your mentality again, because I think it's such a great outlook. What's your take on the fake it till you make it mentality? Would you say that you look for opportunities to excel with any opportunity you get, or you create those opportunities?
Well, I just feel like, you know, like if you're ever in a situation where you're like super unsure of whether you can do something, just do it and figure it out later. You know, like it's like I don't know, suck it up. You know, like there's just unfortunately, you know, like there's a lot of people who are doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like no matter who's watching this, whatever, you know, whatever your passion is or what you're trying to do, what your goal is, there's so many people already doing it that aren't as talented as you are. You know, there are unfortunately a lot of people out there that do super well, even though they're not even good at what they do. And they're just go-getters. You know,
Yeah.
they're just go-getters. They're just better than you at finding those opportunities, going out there and actually making it happen. So if they can make it happen without being good at what they do, you can totally do it if you're good at it. You know? So
Yes.
you just gotta try, man. You just gotta do it, you know? And yeah, just don't let your brain get the better of you and talk you out of it or talk you down. No matter what you're doing, you know, I don't like, I'm not like a guru or anything, by the way. This is just my personal belief. This is what I think, but it's like, no matter what you're doing, it's like you'll eventually learn and get better at it just by doing it.
Yep.
So fail, you know, just suck at it for a bit and then you'll get good.
Failing is just as important as succeeding too. Are you one who becomes discouraged by uncontrollable situations, or do you take the punches and just create the best outcome with them?
It's a good question. Like, what do you mean? Like
for example, yeah. So say for example, like honestly, your Google Drive is the best place to relate. Like just the music where you're like, oh, yo, this is going to be it. Like, I love this. You hit the wall and then it's kind of an uncontrollable situation because your outcome in your mind versus what you created was not how it is. But then you put it in the drive. And I guess I'm answering my own question because you do take it on and you do tackle it eventually.
Yeah.
So I guess in like a different sense then, like, are you someone who would like get really discouraged by something you thought was going to happen? Or do you make sure that it still has like some kind of like redeeming arc to it?
Well, you know, stuff like me like hitting a wall with a song and stuff, obviously it's going to be really discouraging as anything, like if you're writing or something and you hit writer's block or something like that, obviously it's going to be really discouraging. But you kind of just have to learn sometimes when to stop working on something and just put it to rest, give it a
Yeah.
break. Sometimes it just needs time to breathe. Sometimes you just need to experience life before you can revisit it. um you know Sometimes you're just not ready to finish something yet. You need a little bit more character development. You need to level up more to get to take that side quest. You're not that level yet, so you gotta it's just important to not really beat yourself up. If it's uncontrollable, then it's not, there's nothing you can do about it. So what's the point in, like, I guess, worrying about it? I don't know if that answers your question.
No, 1000%. And I hate making these like, oh, but this is like how I view it. Like, this is my
Mhm.
side of things. But I think what I take from that is actually how FTI hiatused on year three and came back halfway through year four
Mhm.
because I was trying to make so much happen, but I was genuinely fighting an uphill battle. Could not figure out what to do. I had the tools. I didn't have anything to put them towards. And then
Mhm.
I think it was the year of like character development, and I think it's the year of like life experiences, leveling up in different aspects that really brought it back at like a different level and in a different way. Because as of recording, the two biggest accomplishments we've done to like personal achievements that we've done are the relaunch concert and the 5 year anniversary. And
Mhm.
those wouldn't have been possible if I never said after when we quit, like, oh, this will never be back. It
Yeah.
literally all took a, okay, let's take one more shot at it because this is what I really want to do. So, no, that answers my question completely, man.
Hell yeah. Well, that was honestly, I'm glad that worked out for you too, and I'm glad that FTI came back because I do think
Thank
it's a
you.
very positive influence to everyone who's a part of it. So.
I at the market today, and Danielle can back this one up a lot because it was actually kind of funny that on the table in front of me I had like the big framed canvas, and
Mhm.
every time someone's like, "Who is a part of the FTI community?" Like, what's involved? I'm like, "So we have like the four band shells here. That's my buddy Aiden. It's St. James Emerson Corleone. Frequencies is Sina's Frequencies. Bug Trap is Animal Boy." And then like just me explaining like what the picture's all about, I'm subconsciously like telling these people like who these people are, like putting a name behind like the rhyme and the reason. And they're
Mhm.
like, oh, so it's like different genres of band shells. I was like, fuck yeah, it's different genres of band shells because that's exactly what it's gonna be.
Mhm.
Um, I really think, and it kind of goes into one of the follow up final points I want to talk on. And if you're familiar with the podcast, it's one of the things I love talking about the most, and that is the theme, the topic, the question of vulnerability. We can go into great lengths about how vulnerability probably does play a factor in everything you create, whether it's expressing yourself in different ways, the different ways you change your voice to do voice acting, the ideas you come up with for songs and music videos. How does vulnerability play a factor in your creation? Would you break it down to be some like pivotal moments in your journey that created Cena's and Cena's frequencies? Or has it just kind of turned into a roll with the punches, if that makes sense?
Yeah, well, vulnerability kind of fuels a lot of my art because, for example, music, in particular, like there's a lot of themes that I think about because I'm like sad or something or emotional one day, and I kind of just try to lay it out musically, and then kind of just try to speak out my mind through lyrics and stuff, and then something will come out and maybe I'll release it and maybe I won't. But yeah, just a lot of stuff like that. Music is like really helpful in terms of just kind of like an emotional output, kind of like in a way I use it to vent sometimes, so
Yeah.
there's that. And then in other senses, in like non-music related things, there's like when I'm doing a film or something, I might add like my experiences from my life to the script or something like that. Like, for example, like one of my final films for university was inspired by a nightmare I had one time. And, you know, it had a lot of themes of like father son and stuff, which I kind of brought from my own life because I did not have the best relationship with my father. So, you know, stuff like that I would add to the script, and I would kind of try to fuel whatever art I'm making plot, whether it's through the plot, through the music, whatever, the lyrics. I kind of just try to kind of use it as a venting device, say how I'm feeling, and then ship it out to people, and then kind of hope it resonates, hope it sticks. And if it doesn't, I've already vented, so it's okay. So yeah, that's basically how vulnerability factors into my stuff. Yeah.
And when you're releasing something as like kind of like your time capsule of how you were feeling in that moment, how do you take on the possible, well, I guess not possible because it's inevitable, but the perspective and the perception that others are going to have like viewing your art and like listening to your music?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, so yeah, no, I did verbal diarrhea that, but like does like when you're releasing something, do you ever get kind of worried about how someone might perceive what you're putting out? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like again, like it goes into the imposter syndrome thing too, right? Because like no matter what, even if I'm like super pumped about something, I'm like, this sounds crazy good. I'm proud of myself. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling myself right now. As soon as I press that submit button, I'm like, but is it that good though? You know, it's like, okay. And then I'll even there's like that meme. I think I saw a meme at one point. Like it was funny too because it was literally right after I had set a song to release, and I saw a meme. It's like when you're at the release party for your song and you realize something in the mix you forgot to change or something like that, and the guy just looks depressed or whatever. That's like me all the time. You know, I like set a song to release and then like I just overthink things. I'm just like, wait, but now that I'm listening to it for the 1,000,010th time, I'm noticing something. This is not good.
Can we back this up?
So, yeah. Meanwhile, you know, I'll show someone like a mix. I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this? And then for a week, I'll work on the mix. I'll change things. I'll spend like hours mastering it and trying to finalize and polish everything. And then I show it to the same person again. And they're like, yeah, I already said it was good. And I was like, but what do you like? All the new stuff. She's like, what? It changed? Like, like, wait, but it sounds pretty much the same. Again, the main, like, in my mind, I was changing so many little things to kind of polish it as much as I possibly could to make it perfect. At the end of the day, mainstream audiences, like the person that was like listening to it, are not gonna know. They're not gonna
the naked
care.
ear doesn't hear it. Yeah,
they don't care. They just want to bop. They just want to bop to the song. And hey, if the melody's there, it's resonating with them. They like your vibe. They like the lyrics. They'll like it. You know. So
yes,
yeah.
I think that's so true too, because like as you said, like the mainstream audience doesn't listen for like all the little things that the creator created in it. They just want to have a good time. They just want to bop. There needs to be a follow-up conversation down the line because this was fucking needed. And that's another one for the swear jar. This was an absolute incredible time. To end it, it's the 3 hardest questions of every In Your Studio podcast session. I hope you are ready. I hope you have the sleeves rolled up and your the knowledge ready to go. Are you ready? Not limited to one medium. Choose as many as you would like. Put the FTI community onto something new to check out. Music, film, anything and everything.
Okay. Music. Definitely check out The Garden. The Garden is very good. It's very cool. If you like indie, garage, grunge, if you like balls to the wall, let's throw stuff and see what happens, check them out. They're very cool. They also have separate, again, like I mentioned, they're twins, but they also have separate artist accounts as well. One is called Puzzle and one is called Enjoy. And they make really rad songs. They make very cool songs, very big inspirations for my music. And I also like The Strokes.
I
like
love
The
the
Strokes. I like Crystal Castles. I like Kings of Convenience. Also, if you like Simon and Garfunkel, you need to listen to Kings of Convenience because they make some insane music that it's not at all like any other music that I've described so far. It's very chill. Two guys with an acoustic guitar by the ocean during a sunset. It's super calming, relaxing music, and they make such phenomenal music. So good.
Fuck yeah.
So
Hell yeah.
just super, super nice and always puts me in a good mood. And then I guess films. I mentioned I just watched The Sinner, so that's like Sinners is super fresh in my mind. So I enjoyed that. So yeah, there you go. Watch Sinners, and my favorite movie ever is Swiss Army Man. So watch that.
Okay. I have not
Swiss
seen
Army
that.
Man. Very silly movie. A lot of fart jokes.
Beware.
What more could you want? What more could you want? That's already cinema. Like,
This that's so good. This next one can be not exclusive to the FTI community because I love when it's not. An artist or a collective in your circle or like maybe like the Toronto art scene that you really enjoy their work.
FTI comes to mind. Man, like, I mean, I already mentioned, so I have a lot of friends that are also in the arts, people from my university, that I still keep in contact with. Some of them, you know, they make films. Like the people that I co-direct stuff with, I just tend to reach out to them a lot. We keep in contact. We make more projects together, and it's always such fun. And again, like we kind of just boost each other up, you know, like whether it's like, oh, I make something and then that pushes them to make something, or we make something together, or they make something and it pushes me to be better and I make something. It's just all like just it's a healthy relationship to have, you know, being just with any sort of community of artists, because it always pushes you and it makes you think, what can I do now to also, you know, and yeah, I forget who I heard someone say it's like you also have to surround yourself with the right people, because if you're, for example, I mean, live your life however you want, but if you're with people that like are just not really like, let's say, I'm gonna sound like a super like boomer old guy, but like if you're with people that are only constantly doing nothing but on their phones or playing video games or whatever, whereas you could be with a group of people where like they're always doing stuff, like for example, like other artists, you know, like they're always releasing stuff, you know, you're always like seeing them create stuff, you know, so you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people where when they do something, it's going to push you to eventually do something as well. Whereas if you're with people who don't really care as much as about stuff like that, then you're less likely to be inspired by the people around you if you're not around the right people. Not to say that people that aren't into like the arts and stuff aren't worth your time. That's not what I'm saying at all, but it's helpful, you know, when you have the right people around you that are positive too, that give positive feedback and actual good criticism, whereas, you know, instead of like people that like put you down and stuff and that don't really give good criticism. So yeah, don't be with mean people either. Hang out with good people, hang out with nice people, you know. I mean, if they give you mean feedback, as long as it's constructive,
that's the best,
cool, you know. As like, if, because at the end of the day you want mean feedback, because like you want to know if what you're making is not resonating. You want to know that, and if you get easily hurt by that, you're gonna need to change that.
That
Otherwise,
is my number one type of feedback to get. Actually,
yeah.
I don't like. I'd sound fake if I didn't say this, but I'm going to say this first. I do enjoy great feedback. I enjoy the positives, but man, I strive sometimes for like constructive criticism where the person giving it to me gets uncomfortable with the wording because they think they're going to hurt my feelings. And
Yeah.
then when my answer is like, I appreciate this so much, I see the perspective because it helps you get so much better, or it helps you tweak something that was not sticking out to you, but sticking out to them. Off the what you just said about like surrounding yourself with like-minded people, I'm gonna butcher whatever the lyric is, but Half Alive has essentially a lyric that kind of states like what you spend your time doing is who you become. And every time I hear that, man, my Nissan Rogue, I turn that thing to 20, and I need to hear that line like 30 times over, dude. I
No, that's a
it's
great
fun.
quote.
It's funny because in Guelph, where I am, I have an infinite fountain, essentially, or an infinite supply of like amazing creative people. Like the downtown Guelph art scene and just the artists in Guelph are incredible. But you can quickly lose that feeling doing your 9 to 5 when you're surrounded by people just working. So like Tuesday is my strongest day. I'm coming off like 2 days of working on FTI, enjoying everything. By Thursday, I'm like, do people even like create? Like I'm surrounding myself around like the wrong people. Then the vicious cycle begins Saturday night when it's me back to talking to like artists.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's really hard to like trying to keep a creative mindset after working a 9 to 5. It's brutal. It's super
Yes.
hard because like you come home and it's like there's stuff that you want to make, but you don't have the time, or you're super pooped, you don't have the energy. You also got to make yourself dinner or whatever, there's just so many things that are going on in your life where it can feel very overwhelming when you come home from a 9 to 5. I've had a lot of experiences where like I've like I was working a 9 to 5, and then I would come home and I'm like, man, I really want to make music, but I became paralyzed and couldn't really work on anything because of how burnt out I was feeling and
Yes.
overwhelmed. Whereas like there's so many things I wanted to do, but ultimately couldn't do any of it because of how overwhelmed it was making me feel. And so, it's kind of hard to, I'm still trying to navigate it myself when I do go back to work and stuff, but it's really hard to kind of find the motivation and kind of find the right balance of like, okay, well, I'm home now, but that doesn't mean it's free time yet. I have responsibility to myself as a creator because I want this to be what I do. I have a responsibility for myself to when I get home. I can't afford to have free time yet because my art is important. And in a way, that is my free time. So you kind of have to shift your mentality, because if it is something you love to do and it is your art and stuff, so it shouldn't feel like a chore to want to do it, So it's something that you kind of also have to learn to like. Again, like we're going through so many quotes, but I heard one recently that was really similar to the one you said. It was about how like how did it go? Something very similar, where it's like you basically are what you do, So like if you basically like if you convince yourself that you are not the type to read a book, you're never gonna
You're never gonna pick that book up.
You're not gonna be a bookworm, You're never gonna be the type to constantly go read a book. If you convince yourself that you hate going to the gym or something like that, if you convince yourself that that's like such a chore or whatever, and that's not you, then ultimately, you're not gonna do it. You're not gonna. That's not gonna be you. You've already convinced yourself of that. But they it's. I think it's like a really good point because there's also another quote. I'm so many quotes, but this one I heard recently and it really, really resonated with me. What was it? It was like, someone's something about, I think it was a famous one too, so I feel stupid, but it's something about how like a person says they can do it or a person says they can't do it. Either way, the person is right. Something like that. Not verbatim, but that's the gist of the quote. Yeah, where it's like, yeah, like basically if you say you can do it, you can do it. If you say you can't do it, you're right, you can't do it because you've already convinced yourself that you can't do it.
Yeah,
so,
you made the decision.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the quote. That's the TED Talk.
Yeah, this is gonna be the most clippable, but also the most holy shit. What do I clip for the podcast? And now the third one, and I feel like you're gonna be one of the easiest ones to answer this because you're very true to yourself and you're very honest. Plug yourself, where people can find you, what's going on, the future, the past, and everything in between.
Hell yeah. Well, I am on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, all of the platforms at Sina's Frequencies. I also have a separate page on Spotify, Apple Music, and all that. Just Sina, Sina. So Sina and Sina's Frequencies. Sina's usually where all my older stuff is from a few years ago, but still really stuff that I'm really proud of. So you should check that out. And my YouTube is also Sina's Frequencies. Sina's Frequencies everywhere. TikTok, YouTube, all that good stuff. And and my YouTube is where you'll find basically just projects that I work on, whether it's grungy, independent videos, content, whatever grunge, music videos, vertical music videos, lyric videos, films from time to time, and my puppet show. So anything plot wise you'll also find on my YouTube. And that's me. So thank you for having me. It's an honor. It is an honor, Matt. And it's great to be part of the community.
Man, when I was setting this up, I was thinking, especially with like the art, like the 5-year anniversary art by Timmy, just like when everybody joined the community, you're pretty much a year oneer because you came in with You Should Have Seen Her because Dylan connected us, and to think that it's been 4 years since. Wow, I'm trying to like come up with words. I'm not even gonna say a lot of words. It's crazy. Like wow. So very long time coming, very long overdue, but also happened at the perfect time because where we're at right now is probably not the greatest point because there's been a lot of milestones in the past, but there was so much to talk about and there was so many things that you and I both learned as artists and producers and creators that I'm really appreciative of this time. I really appreciate that this is the first Creator of the Week after celebrating 5 years. FTI community, as I stare at the camera, whether you're driving to work, going to bed, or driving to work while going to bed, don't do that. I will catch you on Monday for new Creator of the Week. Check out Sina's Frequencies absolutely everywhere. Friends with Furs. And we will catch you next week. And I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Peace out.
Bye.